Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
Yes, sir!
Pure, get that car's license plate number. We're gonna kill that son of a bitch.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
Good evening, Chicago, and welcome to a special breaking news edition of Chicago Corner. We're not going to be doing a full show tonight, but in the interest of staying relevant and actually having an opportunity to break some news, we wanted to do an update on a story that we poked a lot of irreverence at last night because it was so absurd in its context that there was a guy on a rooftop in Humboldt Park here that erected what looked like a concentration camp guard tower or sniper's nest with Nazi flags flag, a Nazi flag, a swastika flag, a Ukrainian flag, a flag for the city of Chicago, and a happy face flag. And he decided to go make a show up there with a flamethrower and what looked like an AR-15 while blasting music, threatening not only the Chicago Police Department, but running the song Eye of the Tiger. And, you know, that in itself just seems like utterly, utterly ridiculous. Well, the police responded to it. Chicago police responded to it. Apparently, they weren't able to, like, get this guy off the roof or arrest him because he went back into his house. Well, it was reported this morning that they were able to breach because they heard dogs barking, I believe, in the look, we can't call him a suspect anymore. The individual was identified as John Joseph Litsiardakis, who has quite a social media presence on Twitter and on Facebook. And before we continue with this, I want to introduce my co-host, or bring in my co-host, Ed Heller.
What night is it?
What's that?
It's Saturday?
It's Saturday night. And I also want to thank Ed for doing a deep dive while I found this information this morning on Twitter.
Yeah.
This guy's identity is at the good work of social media journalists, because here's why we wanted to talk about this tonight. Block Club Chicago hasn't identified this guy by name, nor has the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office, nor has the Chicago Tribune, nor has any other media outlet that basically reported on the story that the guy was up there last night and they found him this morning dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He committed suicide. I'm wondering, like, what's the secrecy? Why wasn't he identified by news outlets? And why are we wondering why he wasn't identified by news outlets? This guy's been a problem for over almost at least a year from what we've been able to follow on social media as far as neighbors and his neighbors reporting him. There was an incident last year where police helicopters were over this location and he was aiming weapons with lasers at the police copter. And apparently that wasn't enough. Oreo, we're doing a show.
No, I think that actually was the straw that broke the camel on that. They were getting all kinds of complaints from the neighbors, and they wouldn't do anything until he actually threatened police with the lasers.
But that was last year, Ed.
Yeah, that was last year.
So last year he did the thing with the lasers, and they didn't take him in. And then he got on the roof last night with the flamethrower and the weapon that people took pictures of. And they showed up and they were trying to reason with him. Now, I have an inside source at CPD, and I contacted them today and I said, whether it was yesterday or whether it was last year, why wasn't this guy who was clearly a threat terrorizing his neighbors not taken in? And what I was told was that if they are called out on someone who seems to be a threat, they try to, I guess, reason or talk him down. But once the individual goes into their house, they can't breach it, which blew my mind. Because how many times, I guess maybe I was going to bring up the Anjanette Young issue, but I know they had a warrant to go in there. But this guy was a threat on the roof with the flamethrower, with the weapons, the prior reports from neighbors in a predominantly Hispanic and Black neighborhood. Okay, while this guy is screaming racial threats to the CPD, threats to Homeland Security. We downloaded a video from this guy's social media. So
yeah, I'm glad I stayed on top of that this morning, Jerry, because they're already starting to lock down some of
they're starting to scrub his media, which is what they did with the Highland Park shooter last year, who had quite a presence on social media until suddenly he decided to go to town at the Highland Park 4th of July picnic last year. Now, look, the guy shot himself. I don't want to make light of the guy's death, but hey, one less Nazi in the world. Are we really that less off for it? Okay.
Well,
and here's the other issue, though. He was a threat to the neighborhood. Okay. He was clearly a mental health issue, not just last night, but for a year with the other behavior he exhibited and the other threat he exhibited. That CPD could not go in last year and arrest him And they couldn't go in last night. They had to wait till he shot himself to go in this morning to discover his body. And now news media is not identifying him. These are the questions we have, along with the facts that we can present. Our speculation, or my speculation last night, was because someone had reported apparently he did security at the new Chicago Police Academy. But my inside source at CPD said, well, CPD would not have cleared him for security. That would have been the construction company doing background checks. So, okay, we can take a level away from CPD as far as like what was his affiliation with him there at the police academy. But beyond that, we know that there has been a tolerance in CPD regarding white supremacists. And it almost begs the question, if they let this guy off last year and last night because he's white, you know, if this were a person of color, the guy would have been, they would have had snipers there themselves to take him out.
Yeah. And if
so, why hide the identity?
Yeah,
and
for
what's
those
the
of you,
secrecy?
for those of you joining us, trying to figure out what the hell we're talking about, this is a story we're continuing. We're doing a follow-up on from last night's stream. And so you can always catch up on that, but we can give you what the basic rundown, although Jerry kind of did a pretty good job of that so far. This guy it's not just wasn't just this year that he was harassing his neighborhood. It was last year, and we're told 3 or 4 years in a row possibly that
we're announcing his name. This is the other thing, John Litsiardakis. Now, I'm going to be very transparent, okay? Hopefully us basically sharing his name and identifying him will get some attention on our channel, along with the fact that we feel like, why my light's going out? Why aren't other media resources identifying him? That's what's hinky about all this. But people should know who he was. It's not a big secret.
At this point, what's the purpose for not identifying this guy?
Yeah. Now, Ed, why don't we share the slideshow that you prepared while I was out today, and we were talking about this on the phone, how to try to disseminate or figure out this guy's been on the radar for a while.
Yeah, so when our show got done last night, we were basically left with a story that was half done. We even had basically at the end of our show, our Patreon supporter, Kathy Power, says, is the Nazi still on the roof? That's a great question. And so we tried to stay on top of it. Some of you may remember we were following a few people on Twitter. Gypsy Danger was one of them, who is still following up on that. And we can try to go back to her Twitter timeline and get some additional updates, because I know the guy had some pets that, who's taking care of the pets, those kind of questions. But here's the basic thing from his Facebook, okay? So here he is, December 31st, 2021. This is his first Facebook profile picture, okay? Then he doesn't change it again until May 22nd of this year, and he changes it to a black screen, basically, and I don't know why. Something must have happened on May 22nd that really bothered him. The only thing I could find in the news from then was that Joe Biden was telling the press again that his son died in Iraq, when that wasn't true. But I don't know. I mean, so then same day, 11:32 a.m., he changes it to this. Now, why is he putting like a Nazi symbol on his profile pic? I don't know. Could he maybe identify with them?
Well, that swastika flag he put up on the sniper's perch, clearly, as well as a lot of other posts from his social media. Let me share this really quickly also, Ed, and I'm hoping that the audio will play, because I did select that in the. This was from this past.
What I'm going to do
is
spin the sun. Yeah. You can see it's
video's not really playing.
Wow, look at
that. Let me.
I'm sorry. That's actually not the video that I wanted to bring up. There was a video where he makes a very clear threat, along with showing.
I've got a different one set where he does that, but
where he shows off his perch up on the roof.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm looking. And you know what? For some reason, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I actually was able to download the videos from Facebook. So I'm going to present the video because it should run clearly from this end really quickly.
I've got all of them too if you need me to play anything, Jerry.
So here's the one that I've got dated as May 23rd, video number 1. Now, warning everybody, language. But this was on his social media, on his Facebook.
Homeland Security. Dexter Airport.
It's a cover of Ace of Bases. I saw the sign.
Homeland Security. Fuck you and fuck you, Chicago Police. Fuck you, Homeland Security. Fuck you, FBI. Fuck you, CIA. Fuck you, Biden. Fuck you. And fuck you. What are you gonna do?
I think it's a helicopter.
Yeah, I think so.
They're checking them out. Now, this is another thing. Can you pause that?
Almost over.
I got the music blaring in my head right now.
Okay, so it's like he's bragging, and what struck me too, he's right across the street from a school bus depot. Not that there are any kids there, but I mean, he's clearly, look, threats at everybody. The police officer effigy there. What were you going to say, Ed? I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at. Is that he's got the effigy of the police officer hanging on a noose. It's a mannequin.
Yeah.
He's got all kinds of issues.
You think
with authority, and
this is a good argument for why we needed to reopen the mental health clinics, because I don't like Nazis, but clearly these were, I don't want to say cries for help, but clear cries for action.
We're not the hugest fans of police officers either,
right?
But still.
Well, speaking of police officers, all right. So let's kind of. This is why I wanted to talk about this tonight, because I was monitoring social media and there was some really interesting conversation about this in one of the Facebook threads that I had found that I think I had contributed to. Let's see here real quick, because I'm waiting for it to open on this end. And Ed, if you want to say something while I'm waiting here.
Can I get through the rest of the slideshow really quick?
Yeah, why don't we continue that?
Why don't I do that?
Okay.
Yeah, so here he is. Here he is on the on May 22nd. He at 11:32 a.m. he switches to the Nazi symbol, and then at 1 p.m. he switches to picture of Kamala Harris. I'm like, okay, I don't know where his mind is going here, but this guy clearly has a hatred for the Democratic Party, which, I mean, again, I can kind of relate with that,
but not in this way.
Yeah. Then 2:12 p.m. he posts a picture, which I think is a picture of the Cygnus X1 galaxy. We dug into a few other things where he's basically claiming he's from outer space. So that's a whole other angle to his delusions. Well, unless he's actually from outer space. I mean, who am I to judge? Welcome alien overlords, I guess. Slide 7. Here he is. Post felt cute, might delete later kind of photo. That was 2:13 p.m. So minutes after he posted the Kamala Harris, and then 3 minutes later he posts this. And you're like, okay, that looks like a Nazi. Who the hell is that guy? And I'm like, okay. That's Werner von Blomberg, who was the Minister of War of the German Reich during World War II. Why would you post this?
Oh, clearly, yeah, he's clearly signaling his Yahtzee sympathies.
Yeah. Then minutes later, he switches back to his original photo. So he doesn't know how to delete photos that he's once changed if he doesn't want them still up there. Probably he's probably technically not very inclined regarding that stuff, but who knows?
Now,
then 1 minute later, he switches to a black screen again. These are his Facebook profile pics. Then he's back to the look felt cute, might delete later picture. Then he's black screen again. And then May 23rd in 9 a.m. he switches back to his photo again. And then May 26th, he's all Mad Magazine.
Right.
So he crops it, and then May 27th he's back, and that was the last time. That's the last thing he did on his Facebook profile.
So let's get to the Facebook conversation though, because this is what went up on Facebook yesterday at 4:39 p.m. from Chi-Town Crime Chasers in Humboldt Park. Dangerous armed standoff. And they did provide an update. After a 15-plus hour-long standoff, the suspect, John, was found deceased with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Chicago police, SWAT, and ATF agents are on the scene at a standoff with a white older male who threatened to kill Chicago Black Mayor Brandon Johnson and every black person. He's on a rooftop where he has a shed with arty Nazi flags all around, pacing in and out, pointing a rifle or shotgun at CPD police helicopter. He's now wearing body armor and has a flamethrower torch. Okay, that's what the situation was. Pointing weapons. What, didn't the police fear for their life to light up on this guy, whether he had body armor on or not? And I'll get to the speculation regarding that. Neighbors said he used to be a normal guy and he's been losing his mind the last few years. He built a sniper nest and put a swastika, a Ukrainian flag, a big smiley face flag, which we'll also get to. Ed researched that, and a Chicago flag on it. Rumors are this man has done this before. He usually camps on that rooftop. This SWAT standoff is still active and ongoing. This is from yesterday. So here's some of the great conversation in there. Friend of the show, Jonathan Todd. That's one of their own. They ain't going to hurt him. Okay? Now, we know not all Chicago police are bad. But when I talked to my inside source and I was trying to understand, this is not the first time. How did it get to this point when it's happened before, when he was a threat? And I was told they won't go in if somebody goes back into their homes. And I said, well, it seems really hinky because what are we left to speculate that they let this guy get away with this? In light of the fact that anybody else would have been shot. And I said to him, I don't want to come down hard on CPD, but with the culture of accepting white supremacy in the ranks, and we've reported on this before. We haven't just reported on this. We haven't shared this. This has been a topic of conversation in Chicago, that racist cops fill their ranks. And I said to him, it's these bad apples that are giving you good apples the bad rap.
And it's not just Chicago. I mean, it's an institutional problem across the nation.
Right. So when Jonathan shared this, that's one of their own, they aren't going to harm him. It's like, maybe that's why 2 or 3 other times prior, they didn't bring this guy out and throw him in a psych ward somewhere. Now, here's what's also interesting. Someone else in this chat from yesterday said, here's the history. This is the same guy I was reporting about last year when he had the 2 rifles and a flamethrower aiming lasers at the police helicopter. Now let's open this guy's comment from last year. 1 year old. Witnesses are telling police the man's name is John. He's a code. I don't know what that icon is. Mental case. He's now barricaded inside of the building. This is not last night. This is a year ago. He is now barricaded inside of the building. Neighbors said he has a German Shepherd. Since he's a mental case and barricaded, police are now calling SWAT to take over and get him out safely. Helicopter said he's now attempting to start a fire on top of the roof. Chicago Fire Department is now en route. They said he has a propane-style torch throwing flames. I didn't hear about this story last year.
Yeah, me neither.
Which is what that's news. That's news.
So the question is, why didn't media even bother to report it last year?
Right? Chi-Town Crime Chasers. Yep, his name's John. Also, all credit out to everybody on social media that we were able to research and compile this from. I don't know why Black Club Chicago or Tribune or Sun Times or anybody else isn't identifying John Litsiardakis. Sounds suspiciously Greek. I'm a little bit afraid.
Yeah, it's he's identified himself as John Litsiard as well, Lichard. So maybe it's Litsiardakis.
Now, here's what's most prescient that James Hawthorne shared with Chicago Chi-Town Crime Chasers. What's funny to me is everybody in the neighborhood seems to be mad and outraged because this is going around on the news today. But he's been doing the same thing for over a year and flying the Nazi flag for over a year as well. Now, here's the other thing. In a perch, okay, in that perch up on the roof, if the zoning people in Chicago, they routinely will drive around and look for unauthorized construction because you've got to buy building permits for things, right? They let this guy put a sniper perch up on this rooftop, and it's been there for a year. Nobody went by to slap the orange notice on that this construction was not approved. Oreo, please, honey. He's knocking my lens around. And I've also got an image. Let me put him on the floor. I've also got an image of this rooftop that shows this sniper's perch didn't just go up in a day. It's been there for a year. And zoning never went over for illegal construction, or if it was legal, who approved it? But it's always clearly visible. My mother stays 3 blocks away, so I see it all the time. I don't understand how the hood is upset now, but none of these so-called hitters have done a thing about it. And now they want to be upset talking about if the police weren't there, what they would do. You had the whole year with no police around, and you still didn't do anything. That's how I know these so-called hitters and street thugs are cowards. I guess he's referencing gangbangers in the neighborhood there. And Sarah Martin shared, they should have had him institutionalized after that incident. Thank goodness no innocent bystanders were harmed and the threat is no longer present. And that's at the heart of why I thought this was important to talk about tonight. A year, this guy was a threat. They went there before when he was aiming laser weapons at helicopters. Clearly a threat, and they left him then up till what happened last night and his self-inflicted gun wound this morning.
Yeah, I actually have video of him climbing up into the perch. You want to watch that?
Sure.
Let's take a look here.
Wow.
I gotta mute that, or we're probably gonna get dinged.
We're probably already gonna get strikes, even though we're reporting news.
Anyway, so this is him climbing up into the thing, and I think he yells a bit in this music. Yeah. There he is with the 1st Infantry Division flag.
Of which we're going to also
take a good look.
Homeland Security, take a good look.
Yeah.
Homeland Security, take a good look. Now, these have been up on social media for a while. So here's what I'm wondering. With all the racial profiling that happens in the city, this guy was on their radar and they didn't think to look at his social media because Ed, here's what's interesting about that concentration camp perch. That's his rooftop. This was released this morning. It looks like he was getting ready for a world, I don't know, like World War III or something.
Yeah. Or it's just, that's his World War III / barbecue deck.
Right. And with the guy's taste in music,
he had all kinds of music he's been playing. Yeah. He was all over the place with the tunes.
So again, the question is, why isn't news identifying him? Maybe they're trying to figure. This is all speculation, people. I don't have all the answers, but we have questions. We have some facts to share. But the facts, the questions we have are: we know the facts show he's been there for a year. He's been a threat for a year. News isn't identifying him. Police basically gave him a pass last year up through last night and this morning until he went inside of his house. They were still outside, I believe. But they waited for him to shoot himself. He was a threat to the community there. And from last year through now, nobody did anything. Nobody paid attention to him. And when we talk about the Highland Park shooter who had quite a presence on social media and a lot of followers for the videos that he posted with his goth videos, that looked like he was threatening people. Well, no, it didn't look. He was basically like bragging and signaling he was ready to do something. And he had a psychiatric record as well. The Highland Park Police Department had visited that family. because he was a threat to his own family. They reported him. He had a psychiatric background. I would think that if you know, your family reports you and the police department sees you've got weapons, part of the follow-up, or at least part of the ongoing, you know, situation, and there should be surveillance in that case, is monitoring their social media. Because when they signal they're a threat, even if they don't do something, they're obviously powder. This is not the first time this has happened, everybody. Okay? And we're always going back to, how did nobody see the signs? The signs are always there. It seems the police look at them, dismiss them, and then allow, like in the Highland Park shooter situation, the father to you know, drop a dime and call in a favor with the Illinois State Police to get the kid his FOID card, even though he wouldn't have gotten his FOID card had the father not called in a favor because he had a lot of money up in Highland Park. Now you've got this MAGA chud, okay? And why do I call him a MAGA chud, Ed? I will show you. Okay, here's, you know, I'm gonna say,
yeah, but it's, you know, it's in my opinion, that's just oversimplification for this guy.
What is
that's just one part of his massive amounts of delusion.
Well,
you know,
before you go into that, and I want you to. Yeah. I'm not saying all Republicans are Nazis, but we can say all Nazis are Republicans.
Actually, I'm not so sure we can do that anymore.
Or MAGA chuds.
I'm not so sure we can say all Nazis are Republicans anymore.
All right. Well, okay. I'm sorry.
This whole Ukraine proxy war thing has thrown a huge wrench into being able to say that.
I stand corrected. Not Republicans, but MAGA chuds. Let's call them that. Okay. Look, we know that President Trump, former President Trump, who, you know, through the good efforts of the Democratic Party, will probably be our president again, based on how they're basically going to piss everybody off and drive more people to vote for him. Okay. He knows how to throw red meat out to those that are not as reasonable as other people who understand he's full of shit, as well as the Democrats. Right. Mm-hmm. This is the type of nutcase he appeals to. One of the types of nutcases he appeals to that Trump riles up. Okay.
It's low-hanging fruit when you have a guy who's already kind of on the precipice of sanity.
True.
To, you know, to feed into all of those things with all of those right-wing dog whistles. So it's not surprising that this guy is the way he is on the red side of the duopoly. But yeah, this guy was something else. I mean, entirely as well. And we're still trying to find out his actual biography origins.
You share the deep dive you did today while I was unable to, because Ed did everything he could to, like, I mean, the fact he's got a 1st Infantry Division flag up there. Is he a veteran? Yeah. Was he honorably discharged? Is he a disgruntled veteran? Go into it, Ed. What you tried to find out.
I have yet to confirm whether he is actually a veteran, but it would be a good guess that he's probably a Vietnam vet, just based on how old he appears to be. And so if he were part of the 1st Infantry Big Red division, that would make sense. You know, I wouldn't be surprised at all if anybody who came back from Vietnam was a little messed up from the experience. So if that's the case, you know, clearly this guy wasn't getting the help that he needed, you know, for PTSD or whatever mental issues he was dealing with.
Thank you, Brian. You're correct. Yeah. Yes, he has. Biden has too. Go ahead.
Yeah, Biden's a terrible racist. I found this website, which a lot of people didn't even realize he probably had. And I was glad I went and grabbed the things that I grabbed off of that site this morning, because I tried to access it this afternoon, and you can't. It was taken down. So this website was called innersengenics.com. And I don't know what that word means, but this is his same Facebook profile pic. He's calling himself Commander Sparrow, and it says Cygnus X1, and it's got his name. And then there's some photos of him in there. I can't go through all of his photo gallery because this is just an archive copy, but I did manage to get to the videos page as well, which they're just super random short videos that don't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know if I can. Should I try to pull some of them up? I've got them.
Well, again, Ed, why is the medical examiner covering up this guy's name?
I don't know.
Why is Block Club Chicago, and I'll bring up the Block Club Chicago article also to read from. Why don't you? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Where were you going with that?
I'm just trying to pull up a couple of these little short videos so you can kind of see what the hell.
You do that. I want to read more from the Facebook stream while Facebook commentary while you do that. I'm so glad that our technical issues are resolved. So black man on the corner pointing his finger at the moon. CPD screaming, "Stop resisting," as he uploads 2 clips in the man's head. This didn't actually happen, but it's not too far from reality. Yeah, it's not, because remember when Laquan McDonald in a drug-induced haze was in the middle of the street with a knife, and Van Dyke plugged him 16 times. I don't know how many yards or feet away. And Laquan McDonald was clearly no danger to him. Okay. And everybody knew that he was drugged out of his mind. But that's how they deal with these kind of threats, but not this guy on the roof with the Nazi flag. Another comment here. A threat to the community and officers with his hate and weapons, but he hasn't been shot. I wonder why. How sad for this country.
Yeah, I had I always have a suspicion when people report, that when police report on their police scanners that they found somebody dead. And now that we currently have
30-minute delay,
30-minute delay and an encrypted police band, I don't know whether to believe that.
That's right. Here's the statement too.
And that's, that's part of the problem with this lack of transparency is that, you think we didn't trust you before, and now you're wanting to put give yourselves a 30-minute head start and potentially covering up something that you might have screwed up
for the whole year. For the whole year.
I mean, how do we get out of this?
We don't. And that's the problem. And that's one of the things I hope Brandon Johnson and the new police superintendent address. By the way, I was also told by my CPD source that there are approximately 85 applicants for the office of superintendent that they're weeding through. And my source was a little concerned that those applicants are not being publicly disclosed so that people can know who they are. And I thought, I understand their concern because, maybe some politics. I said this. It's like a casting agent. Casting agent's going to look at all of the auditions and weed out the people who can't act, the people who aren't right for the role, and present the candidates that are actually right for the role. So you're not going through all of them. But, and that's what this process is. And apparently, if I understand it correctly, it's the local police commissions, police board commissions that were elected positions. We're going to weed through these candidates and make recommendations. And those police commission board members who've been elected, I think, are more progressively leaning, which gives me hope. They're going to weed out candidates that are not like our previous police superintendents. But my CPD source had a point. What if out of politics, a really good candidate out of this 85 is not selected? We don't know who they were, what their credentials were. So we just have to wait that out. And maybe Veronica Areola, who is on the 24th District Police Commission. That's a question we can ask her when she joins us. But here's the news release from the Chicago Police Department. Their statement: Chicago officers responded to a call of a man on a rooftop at the 4100th block of West Chicago armed with a gun, et cetera, et cetera. When officers arrived on the scene, the individual entered the building and refused to exit the premises. Why don't you breach? SWAT officers, okay? If local officers are too worried to go in, you've got SWAT there with their big, door barricades. We've seen, in movies or in news reports, that's what they do when there's somebody in there and he was a threat beforehand. SWAT officers responded, and negotiators from the Chicago Police Department and SWAT attempted to contact the individual to bring the incident to a peaceful resolution. Hours later, SWAT officers made entry into the building and discovered a male adult deceased on the scene. There were no other injuries reported, and area detectives are investigating. Thank heavens, right? But
it didn't end well.
Worse could have happened. It didn't end well for him, although it ended well for the neighborhood. But a year, this was a powder keg that was that was ready to blow.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, and I know I'm not like a professional psychiatrist or psychologist or anything, but I started to see some patterns of some issues, and I was watching the videos, and I've got one like this, where he had some obsession with watching the skies, mainly things like contrails, things passing by like aircraft, and cloud formations and things. And it was very much like a paranoia. Like he thought that they were either gassing the atmosphere or the clouds were closing in on him. And somehow the government was doing it all. So let's watch this one really quick. It's only 27 seconds.
It's our spaceship. Go, baby. I'm running out of.
He was saying that's our spaceship. So, I mean, again, it goes with the whole thing. There's another video, I think, where he talks about being from the Cygnus X1 galaxy, or I saw something on one of his posts that said that. And so, he in another video, he's obsessing more about the clouds and all the things coming in. And so I'm thinking, when they bust that door down and they're going to gas him, do you think that's going to de-escalate the situation?
Well, it should. Here's the thing, though, Ed. It should have never escalated to this point to begin with a year. And let me share this, too. I posted something on my Facebook today, and I had some interesting comments from some of my friends on Facebook that I addressed. Well, first of all, said swastika, flag, flamethrower, gunner are given. What did we not see coming? Was the concentration camp guard tower sniper perch on the roof the sky erected? Where were the zoning and construction inspectors to slap him with a construction and zoning violation? And what am I talking about? I'm talking about this. This is what they do when somebody starts to do illegal construction anywhere. So, guard, and I'll tell you, and I'll also share this with you. Why? Because here's what that building looks like. That building looked like prior to the concentration camp tower going up on the roof. And this had to be this has to be about 2 years old, because this is from Google Maps, right? Google Street View. Mm-hmm. That ladder's. I wonder if he began construction then.
It might have been the day.
There's the ladder where that tower was. Now, as I mentioned to, I believe Brian in the chat, this was a residential neighborhood. We know this is the building. Okay. And here's the school bus depot across the street that we saw in his videos. Right now, right kitty corner away from him. Let me go around the corner here if the browser cooperates with me. I can imagine that this is probably where a lot of the complaints were coming from prior to last night. Right down the street here with the music blaring and stuff. That's how close he was to a residential community with that sniper's nest up on the roof.
Yeah, he's in a residential community, essentially.
Yeah. So, to go back to this, Ed, which I'm not. Yeah, am I kind of being ironic and irreverent? A little, but it's a legitimate question, because people's construction is shut down for like expanding their patio or their front porch. Okay, so you've got that wondering, like, where were the building inspectors who routinely drive around the city and see this stuff? So one of my friends on Facebook said, well, Jerry, I hate them too. He's dead. One less Illinois Nazi to deal with. And I said, yeah, but why did CPD allow him free reign after what I understood were 3 previous incidents? A black guy on a roof with guns and a flamethrower would have been shot down first response last year. It's hinky. Tim said, I agree. And considering this guy hated the cops as he hated everyone else, last year Chicago had a black mayor, a black police superintendent, and a black county state's attorney. I sense some blame being directed at them. They could have done something, Ed. And the police should have shot him yesterday. Nobody would have cared. To which I countered, I don't think the black superintendent, black mayor, or black state's attorneys knew a goddamn thing about the MAGA chud, but responding officers did. Could it be because there are white supremacist sympathies within rank and file of CPD? It's a serious question. And that's at the heart of why I question why he was allowed to pull this shit for a year in previous incidents. And now Tim said, I didn't know about that. Are you suggesting higher rank police never heard of the incidents? This never came to David Brown's attention? Tim, maybe not. Maybe not. Although we saw this guy was aiming laser pointers at helicopters. That wasn't in the news last year. One gentleman told a TV reporter yesterday that the whole block had to be closed off not too long because of him. That's a major incident report right there. And there may be a white supremacist sympathies within the police department, but this guy seemed to hate CPD. Yeah, but not all CPD knew that until last night, maybe, when they saw his threats.
Well, I mean, if they didn't know then, they definitely know after this.
Fuck you, Chicago police. Fuck you, Homeland Security. Fuck you, Chicago administration. Fuck you, you piece of shit mayor. I'm gonna kill you. You come and fuck with me, you're dead. You're gonna be butchered. And then I'm gonna execute who's left. You take that to the bank and you'll take it to the grave. I fucking hate you, motherfuckers. I hate the administration, and I'm gonna kill you, cocksuckers. You take that to the grave, cocksuckers.
When was that video,
amazing.
David?
That one is from, hold on a second. That was from the 26th.
Of this year.
Yeah.
But still after the incident with the helicopter last year.
That was this year.
Okay, well, Tim leaves his serious question. I hope there's a big explanation coming from the new administration and the new future superintendent. Even I'm at a loss for words. Well, Tim, so are we. And now Andrew stated, my friend Andrew on Facebook stated, I like sharing people's commentary because it helps guide the conversation to things we might not have considered. But Andrew shares, interesting to see a Ukrainian flag. Imagine if it was a Russian flag, how the media and others would portray that. Aha, you see, he's a Nazi that supports war criminal Putin, and Trump is Putin's puppet, so vote for Biden to save us from Trump's white supremacy. And he's absolutely right. Andrew went on to say Ukraine does indeed have a Nazi problem, as we've seen in the news, and as mainstream media reported on prior to the Russian invasion in 2022.
Yeah, although, I mean, all the reporting before 2014 essentially was from mainstream news outlets were saying that Ukraine had a Nazi problem. So it's not like we weren't aware. It's just that nobody was paying close attention in the general public. And so when the news media decided to shift gears and pretend like it wasn't an issue so that they could promote this proxy war, a lot of people pushed back at it, not realizing that, well, you know, the news media is lying to you currently about the situation. And so we do have to correct the record on that for real. Not just propaganda-wise, like other people do. That was so that like that video. I mean, that's one of a few different videos where he's basically just using the F word over and over again. So for the algorithm that might be paying attention to this live stream, that was fair use, and that was not us. That was us playing a video that is newsworthy for the story we're covering.
Now here's a video he posted on his Twitter feed. Tim at Ampersand, looking through his Twitter feed, he seems to think he's a starseed or something. Also, a few replies to a Skinwalker Ranch account. No obvious signs of Nazism aside from the esoteric use of the swastika. This video is something.
What the hell? This guy's got some issues, or he had some issues. I'm not seeing a smooth running video, but I am definitely seeing a swastika on my screen, Jerry.
Yeah, you know what? My upstream is bullshit tonight. Everything else is working right, but my upstream is bullshit.
Okay, well,
so I think that's why some of the stuff I'm sharing might not. And am I still blocky? Hey, can we get some feedback in the chat? How's my video signal going out? Ed, how do I look on
your sound is good. Your video looks blocky in my StreamYard.
God damn. RCN. Here we've got everything else running great. Great story, interesting, and we got to worry about our freaking internet service providers not being able to give us the service we need.
But otherwise, I think we're going pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this is fascinating, but even with all the facts we have, it still just leaves us with way, way, way too many questions on how we got here. And you know what else, Ed? What's to say that, you know, there aren't other crazy people out there like this guy that are on CPD's radar that they've essentially ignored in the same way? That we're going to hear of a real horrible tragedy happening, and we're going to wonder, well, how did this happen? And then we're going to find out shit like this, as reported on Twitter by Jinx Press. Equally disturbing is the fact that this had been going on since at least May of last year and possibly before then. His neighbor has said he was doing all of this in plain view, and they'd repeatedly called the police. We fully expect the CPD to try to memory hole this.
Yeah, well, they're already trying to. Somebody asked them to pull down that website. I'm kind of surprised that we're still able to access his social media, to be honest with you. I would have thought that they would have tried to take him down by now. But I'm glad we got some content here, because even if they had taken him down, I got plenty of screenshots.
And we're the first.
Yeah.
Chicago. I searched social media. I searched YouTube. Nobody has done a deep dive into this. And it's not about the sensationalism of a Nazi on the roof with a flamethrower. It's about the fact that CPD's ignored it for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Media will not identify him. How was he on the radar and ignored for a year at the expense of the safety of people in that neighborhood? And why has this happened? How many other places is it happening? And what's CPD's excuse for letting this guy do this for a year while they shot down Laquan McDonald with 16 shots in the middle of the street, surrounded by police, when the kid wasn't even in range of anybody that he can take one swing with his knife? Sniper, concentration camp perch, flamethrower, what looks to be an AR-15, and at least from our understanding, this is the second time since last year it's happened, because he was aiming laser pointers at police helicopters last year. That wasn't reported.
Yeah, and I'm surprised he wasn't arrested for playing that really awful cover of Ace of Bases. I saw the sign.
Why didn't he get hit with a copyright strike? Why weren't the copyright police out there to like take him down to save the police?
And I don't know if you're aware, Jerry, or people in the audience, but Ace of Base apparently is a kind of a white supremacist pro-Nazi band.
That explains it.
And I don't know what language they were singing in, but if it was like German or Ukrainian or Polish or something, I wouldn't be surprised. But also, I wanted to say, while we are likely the first independent media outlet or first media outlet in Chicago actually doing this deep dive, we should thank all the people on social media who have been following this, especially the people who've been living in that general area who have been following this thing, including Gypsy Danger, who we covered her timeline last night, and she added some more information today. Following up, said, "Good morning, everyone. I confirmed that the dogs are fine," because the guy had a couple dogs.
Yeah.
So
even Hitler had a dog. Even Hitler had a dog.
Those poor dogs got gassed too when the cops threw the gas in there. So that I feel bad for the dogs there. Hopefully they'll be getting the care they need, and they'll end up in a home of a non-Nazi, non-PTSD person who can take better care of them. I'll be honest, I don't know how this guy took care of his dogs. Maybe he took better care of his dogs than he took care of the rest of humanity.
Or himself.
So, animal control came by around, what was it? About 11 a.m. this morning. So dogs are in custody. And then also want to do a quick follow-up on the flags.
Well,
because,
before you get to the flags, I want to, because this I had this image up a moment ago, and in thanking people on social media that did a lot of the digging, I also want to thank these images that came from Johnny Bucket 6 Sheehan at Dogstar7 Tweets, a slideshow of, I don't know who got these. Maybe somebody put a drone up to get. We showed this overhead picture, but here are a few more. And not shared by everybody, not shared by Block Club Chicago or the Tribune or the Sun Times or WGN or WTTWs. It's literally like citizen detectives out there on social media that enabled us to be able to like compile all this stuff, to like do a deep dive into what happened, why, what it means, and you know, present the facts to demand some answers in regards to everything we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's going to take a village in order to get the real information out there. And so I'm glad that at least we're one outlet being able to do it. So look, if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. Please follow the channel, subscribe to the channel. We're on YouTube, Rockfin. We're archived to Odyssey. We'll try to stream there one day. One day we'll be streaming to Rumble, but just not yet. We are streaming to Twitter and Facebook and Jerry's LinkedIn account. So
and also click the little bell for alerts, because we threw this broadcast together last minute, and hopefully our subscribers on YouTube that have the little bell activated would know that we were coming on with this special report tonight. But you can also, along with subscribing to us on YouTube, click the little bell so that if we do, when we do, not if, when we do other impromptu breaking news things in the future, aside from our normal broadcasts on Tuesdays and Fridays, you'll get a little alert in your YouTube so you'll know to tune in, because, you know, I think this is a fascinating story. And we're also going to be doing breaking news on other things when we're available. I mean, it's just so happened I was free tonight. Ed was free tonight. This stuff came out. We talked about it last night. It's like, ooh, we've got a way to like kind of not find completion or closure to the story yet, but at least add another layer instead of waiting till Tuesday when everybody else breaks the news that we found and that other people have found that people should know about.
Yeah, and I figured, well, you know, Svenguli's a rerun tonight, so
I have to drag.
I figured, what the hell? Let's try and do a show. I don't know how long. We're not going to go super long.
We're almost done. We just, I mean, we started at 8. It's 9, 8:10. Yeah, I mean, we can wrap this up shortly. I did want to, after you go into this, I want to share what Block Club shared, just to kind of give a taste of what mainstream media is. I didn't think Block Club was necessarily mainstream media, but the fact that they're not digging up this guy's name and asking these questions or sharing this information because the medical examiner is not identifying him, I thought was interesting.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know what kind of guidelines they have over there at Block Club as far as identifying people, but I mean, maybe it could be just, you know, that they have a certain level of standards that need to happen before they make identifications, or it could be, unfortunately, one of those things where they're waiting because they want to keep getting access to people so that they can, you know, do their journalism. And
well, I'm sure they're probably waiting for more facts to come in, Ed, and we're going to hear more about it this week by the news organizations that have got the resources and the staff to do more digging. I just felt that it was interesting that the name hasn't been released because, as you said, with the 30-minute delay on the police scanner and the fact we're probably going to not find anything else, or regular media is not going to release his name probably till Monday. And come on, news bureaus work on the weekends. The fact that, to my point, Block Club Chicago updated this, and they did state, so this was from yesterday. They entered the building Friday evening. Well, I thought it was actually this morning that they found him deceased.
It was like late last night.
Okay. We heard the news this morning. But, you know, I'm going through this whole article. No name. While he's all over social media. You know what we say all the time, Ed.
Yeah, so there's that smiley face flag. I knew someone would have a photo.
Yeah.
Hinky.
What does that mean, Vince? Hinky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Well, don't you say strange or weird? I mean, hinky, that has no meaning.
We say hinky.
I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
Exactly.
We need Samuel Gerard and his U.S. Marshals on the case.
Yeah, we need some detectives looking into this, because we can't just let the police skate on this story without people digging into what actually happened there.
For a year.
Yeah. So, so the flags.
Yeah, let's get to the flags.
We're familiar with the Ukrainian flag, and we know that he was flying the United States of America flag upside down, which is a sign of, it's a signal for distress, sometimes a nation in distress, sometimes just a person's local area in distress. He's, you know, it's also a sign of protest. Okay. The 1st Infantry Division flag, which led me to think that maybe he's a vet. So we're thinking, you know, probably Vietnam. Then he's got the yellow flag with the red Nazi symbol on it. I don't know the exact origin of that, but that could be a Ukrainian symbol, or could be related to a different other. It's a Nazi symbol, essentially. It's fairly clear that he's identifying in some way with the Nazis, based on other information from his social media that we've gathered, like when he changed his profile pics. Remember in that slideshow we showed a little earlier, where one of them, where he changed to basically the head war guy from World War II in Nazi Germany, right? And then he changed to the Nazi symbol. So we're fairly clear on that one. The smiley face flag, the yellow flag with the smiley face on it, I had to dig to find out what the hell that might be about. And we know that the smiley face has had connotations over the decades. For you know, the original intent was, you know, have a nice day, right? And then people like started adopting it as for irony sake, or or as a form of, you know, basically another form of protest, really. And then when the lockdown happened, a lot of people were against masking and or vaccination and or the lockdown itself. And so some people in that had adopted that flag for that purpose of protest. And I'm thinking that might have been where he lies, just based on his politics. So that's the flag update for this story. I don't know what else to add for that, other than, you know, he clearly has had reasons in his head for why he picked all of those flags.
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
And so that's my best guess on what those flags were about.
Yeah. I think we've covered it all, aside from the Tribune article, which was updated at 11:12 a.m. this morning. 11:12 a.m., June 3rd, right there, right? Highlight it here. Okay. Bottom of the article. 11:12 a.m., everybody. As of Saturday morning, the deceased man has not been identified.
Really?
He said that there were no other injuries and detectives are still investigating. Well, if you hadn't been on social media, Twitter and Facebook, to see citizen journalists and people from the neighborhood identifying him, you heard it here first. Yeah, along with all the questions that we expect.
Really wasn't identified this morning? Are you sure, Chicago Tribune? You positive about that?
How could you not, and why wouldn't you?
I mean, there's no reason to hide his identity at this point,
unless there's some kind of a behind-the-scenes cover-up being concocted to basically come up with excuses for why this was ignored for a year, or if he had any other affiliations with law enforcement. Ed, we don't know that. We're speculating. What if he did have? What if, aside from all of the clusterfucks this past year, that they weren't actually responsive in a way that was responsible? It was overlooked because, I don't know, of this culture of looking the other way with white supremacy in the department. As Jonathan Todd shared on Facebook, you know, they're not going to go shoot one of their own, even if he says he hates cops. I would say the hate for other races probably supersedes you know, this guy's hatred for cops, because beyond that, they all hate other races. So I don't know. I don't maybe I be talking out of my ass, but.
And I should also mention that in the last show, I originally thought that the guy who owned the building that he was above or near or perched above near might have been the guy, but it wasn't the guy. And Jerry was of that mind, and he was correct. So I
wanted to be safe because it's you know, you go to who owns the building. Maybe look, other people were trying to figure out who this guy was.
Yeah.
In the moment, and they went to the property record, and that's actually not a bad. You know, they were playing detective. You research all the sources. Why is he had to have been renting the building then from whoever the property owner was that was misreported?
Yeah, well, and then last night, one of the tweets had said that the cops were addressing him as John, so they knew who he was.
Yeah, and Ed. Hence, that's where it gets
Hinky. What does that mean, Vince? Hinky.
Oh, that's strange.
Weird. Why don't you stay straight?
As we overuse that drop in all the time.
Yeah. So this guy, I mean, he clearly had a few screws loose. He was not really nice to the people in the neighborhood, playing all kinds of noise and sounds and stuff. He thought that the everybody was against him, and he, you know, and he was making all kinds of threats on social media and, you know, and out loud from his roof.
There you go, right there.
What an asshole.
Attention, breaking news. Democratic Party is unraveling, and will be abolished, just as I predict it. I write the book of life.
Yeah, and it says,
I think he's gone into the sequel book, the Book of Death now.
Oh, and it says breaky news.
Yeah.
So it's like achy breaky news.
Achy breaky news. Well, rest in peace, John. We hope that you found some peace somewhere, given, in all honesty, whatever demons this guy was wrestling with in life, and that will hopefully be revealed by those with more staffed investigative news departments
I hope he finds some sanity in whatever the next thing is for him, because and then maybe that will translate into peace for him,
and also address the crucial crisis and epidemic of the need for mental health clinics, support, care everywhere. This guy was on the grid, untreated.
They're clearly untreated.
If anything demanded a response to have mental health professionals assess him, given he was a threat last year through now, they fucking dropped the ball on that too, man. So
and I thought it was also weird how last night there's this one guy who came out to try to talk him down, and the police arrested him.
Yeah. Oh my God, and he was a person of color.
Yeah, which is why they arrested him.
Of course.
If it was a white guy, they would have just let him go and talk to him. Probably.
That's right. Or they wouldn't have arrested a white guy. I mean, this was a potentially threatening and violent situation. But why arrest the guy from the neighborhood who knows him? Just say, hey, go home, get out of here. Anyway, that's our breaking news report. Ed, I don't want to keep you from Sven Gulli.
It's over.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, you got Star Trek and Batman 66 coming up.
That's true. And you know what, Jerry? If you tune in late enough, you also get Kolchak the Night Stalker.
I don't have my hat here. I was thinking about grabbing my investigator Kolchak reporter hat, but I'm like, this is too serious. That's why, we did the Blues Brothers in the front end, and I saw Ed getting on his News Brothers hat and glasses, and I'm like, no. And I wasn't like being mad about it. I'm like, this needs a little bit more of a serious setup. We'll bring them back later.
Well, the only reason I was getting them out was because you have all the Blues Brothers Illinois Nazis clips in the opening video. That's why I figured, well, maybe News Brothers was right, but maybe not.
No, they were basically supposed to serve as the Nazi, the irreverent Nazi commentary, so that we could be serious journalists tonight. Or serious commentators. We're not journalists.
See, Jerry's smarter than me when it comes to actual producing of content, directing stuff. So.
And you know what, Ed? That's why I make the big bucks here.
Yeah, huge bucks. So,
all right, everybody.
So to help us make the huge bucks, you can support us at patreon.com/Chicago Corner. for as little as $5 a month, you can actually have the opportunity to be a guest on Chicago Corner.
That's
we
right.
get to hear your 2 cents on the stories that we cover on this show, if you want to, once a month. So nobody's taking us up on that yet. I imagine that one day Kathy Powers is going to be joining us. She's probably, if she gets motivated enough, she'll probably be the first one to join us.
Or
to
Dominic.
rant at us. Yeah,
I think
maybe
it's,
Dominic.
I think it's even money on either Kathy or Dominic.
Yeah. So patreon.com/Chicago Corner. We appreciate everybody who donates to us. If you can't afford to donate to us, and we know that it's really hard to make ends meet these days, you can still help us by sharing the stream, letting everybody know on all of your social media platforms that Chicago Corner is an independent local media show that talks about stuff in Chicago and also gives a Chicago point of view on national stories.
And as we depart our breaking news report tonight, I just want to leave you all with this. CPD, you got some splaining to do.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Ed, sorry Brooke took you away from Svengoolie tonight, but I think this is a great breaking news story. Thanks for joining me. And to everybody else out there, we'll be back Tuesday. Ed will be captaining the ship. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe. Watch out for each other. Be vigilant, like the residents in this neighborhood were for the past year, alerting CPD about this knucklehead that was a threat to the neighborhood. And remembering, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Please make sure to like and share this show on social media and let people know that as an indie news outlet, we were the first to share this information so people will take us more seriously and legitimate. Anyway, everybody, have a good weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Ah! Oh, fuck this noise, man.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.